everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today during this painting live stream, I'm going to show you step by step how you at home can create for yourself this adorable love gnome. So he's a total Valentine's Day painting, and given that everyone's so excited about gnomes right now, which I completely get because we've been gnomifying our community of things for a while, I'm so behind this. Expect more designs like this. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hey guys.
He's going to help me explain how this painting is done by tracking me with one of our robotic zoomy in cameras, making sure you see every color mix, every brush stroke, every part of the action. That's really going to help you make this at home. To everybody who's here in the live stream, hello. I'm so glad to have you here. If you're coming by on the replay, be sure and get that chat on because sometimes the people in the chat will ask questions that you might have on the replay. And they might get answered during the live show because you never know how that's going to go. You guys ready to look at the materials?
Absolutely.
Okay, because these are really simple. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for people.
Okay.
All right. So here's our little fellow here. Is he not adorable? He's got his wispy blow-away beard and his adorable little mopsy hat and cute little footies and sweet little hanging down hearts. And we're going to use a lot of fun techniques that are real simple like sponges and not too many colors, not too many materials. Going to make it a really good beginner painting. Now, check the description below, not just for the materials, but there's a link to our website. It'll say website grid extra info. When you click that, it's going to take you to a web page where there is a big version of this for you to grab and print out for reference. Also a step-by-step. And if you've never painted before, or if you're new to painting, those step-by-steps make this process so much easier. Because even though you've got this video here, having that step and kind of knowing where we're going is going to really unlock and demystify the painting process. I'm going to put him to side. Now, we have a 9x12 art board. These come in packs. I get these from Michael's. They're the Artist Loft kind. You can get really high-end versions from a company called Ampersand or Frederick's. There's all kinds of places. I just really like these because they allow me to do a lot of paintings and store them, but stretch canvas is just fine. And art paper for acrylic is just fine as well. We like to put wishes, intentions, and ideas on our canvas just to kind of increase the positive mindset out there in the world. So from our community, we have a strong heart and will for Karen's grand brush and an insightful and inspired medical team. Healing and strength for Lisa. Love to our first responders and troops. And I just want to say to wherever you live, your first responders, your troops, all the amazing people around the world who put community first and protect others, I salute you. Strength and support and love in a community surrounding the Jennifer Wright family for facing an unimaginable situation. Just everyone they need around them that they could possibly have. I personally would like to see peace for the world and that we all go to bed safely and sleep soundly, all of us all over. And then, of course, like a super viral video. Now, here's the materials. These are the paint colors. I've got my little cellulose sponge. You don't need the one with the scrubby. That's just what I had clean and ready for paint. You just want this sort of texture. So it's the cheapest possible sponge. If you don't have a sponge, you could use crumpled up paper. You can use crumpled up saran wrap. You just want something that's going to give you this sort of rough texture for this easy wood technique. I have a little bit of fluid paint that's going to help me get the lines to the hearts and the lines in the wood. You could use craft paint like Deco Art Americana. You know, it's like a couple bucks a bottle. So I love this company and this paint, but this is an area where you could switch to a less expensive option. A nice big brush. This is a number 30 ruby satin. I have an artist knife. This is an Art Sherpa artist knife, and it's going to help me mix some paint. I'm going to be using my number 8 cat's tongue. You could use a filbert, a round, a bright. For everything this brush is going to do, you just want something that gives you a little bit of control in the turn. When you curve a brush stroke, you want to feel like you don't want to spin out. This isn't one of those many Fast and Furious movies with brushes. I got a number 4 round here, so I'm going to put those aside. Those are what I'm going to be using. I have Mars Black, Titanium White, Phthalo Blue, Cad Red, and Quinacridone Magenta. I definitely dropped the purple because it really wasn't necessary for this piece. It just was another way to darken the red, and the blue or the black will do it just as well. So I was like, let's pull that color out so we're not worried about it. Now, to begin, you guys ready to begin?
I am.
I'm going to take my big, fat, wonderful brush the Ruby Satin number 30, and I'm going to drag this off. Now, these are synthetic filaments, and they're firm for heavy body paint. And I'm going to just sort of take my wonderful little wishes and start to brush them into the canvas. And the reason that I do that is so that they don't bleed through the design. That's all. If you're doing these at home, this is just a step I like to demo so you don't get unexpected words that you didn't mean to have show. But if you like your words to show, that's fine. Yeah. You just want it to happen when you want it to happen. How you doing, baby?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It does you.
I love you.
Okay.
All right. So you got your surface all ready to go.
I have my surface ready to go. I'm going to do my next step.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys want to do it with me?
You're not going to procrastinate and like...
Okay. I mean, I totally can.
Drink
Watch
some
this.
coffee.
I'm going to sip my kombucha.
Oh, you're drinking kombucha?
I'm drinking kombucha.
Okay.
This one is the Strawberry Serenity.
You know, I was going to say that I saw several people say how adorable they thought the gnome was, and your shirt is pretty cute today, too.
I felt like this was very colorful and gnomish. I don't know.
Very gnomey.
It felt like it could be gnomey.
It's
Now, the base of this particular piece here is a lighter gray. So I'm going to pull out 2 parts of my black white and just a little bit of my black. And I'm going to loosely mix. See how we've done that? Loosely mix. So what I want to see is streaking in my paint. Streaking in my paint.
Yeah.
We want it to be streaky.
Now, this is a love gnome.
He's a love gnome. He has love.
He's not a rock gnome.
He is not a rock gnome stalker.
He is not a rock gnome stalker.
That's funny to like 7 people that used to play D&D with us. None of whom are watching today.
That's okay. That's a story.
That was a character that I had in my D&D game named Himsty Twinklestar.
Yep.
So, you know, I've been gnoming for a minute. Like, I think before I had my daughter. My eldest.
You've been a pre-children gnome.
I was a pre-children gnome. So you can see that I am just pulling this across, and it's a bit streaky. There's a kind of like uneven, not perfect, uniform color to this. Now I'm just pulling this in. And before I even get my sponge involved, I'm going to grab a little black. And as you can see, what I do is I grab just a smidge and I pull it out like that and then kind of lightly drag it into my paint. And watch this. I'm going to come here and just go across very lightly with the brush. I'm not pressing it at all. I'm building up a patina. That's a fancy art word. A patina.
That's a fancy art word for fake.
Or finish.
Or, I guess so. I guess
it's a finish. It's that aged finish that happens over time. I'm doing a trompe-l'oeil of that finish, which would be a fake.
Faux. That was the word I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Faux is the art word for fake.
Right. Trompe-l'oeil or faux.
Yeah, that was what I was looking for.
So I'm creating a wood effect, which is clearly, obviously not made of wood. If you're really into the sign painting wood movement right now, you can skip this step. Probably quite easily. Now I'm going to put out a little more white paint, right? Going to put out a little white. And that's actually looking pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and hit myself with the hairdryer here, if I can get it to me.
It should
just
be
like
there.
this.
Okay, so while she's doing that, don't forget, use low heat settings on your hair mover, air mover. So the reason is that hair dryers have high heat, and that heat can damage the surface. So you don't want that to happen. And by damage, what I mean is that it softens the paint and can cause it so that when you're going to put your next layer on there, it can cause it to be sticky. It can cause because the heat will soften that under surface layer. It can cause the brush to drag on it in funny ways, especially this sponge.
Yes, and we want it to be dry so the paint stays down while I kind of dry brush over. Now I'm going to load with my white first, but I'm going to grab a bit of that gray. I might even let a little black pick up on it. Right? Because what we want is sort of a wood effect. So look at how my sponge looks. Now, I'm not going to press hard in with my fingers. What I'm going to do is kind of come across like very parallel, very lightly. And what that's going to do is leave this wood grain effect. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Super easy.
I'm going to get some back over here and let them see
This
that.
will work with your furniture finishing, your cabinetry, any of that. It just also happens to work pretty darn good on your paintings. And you can see that as I let the cellulose surface kind of skip across the canvas, it just ages it. It makes it look even more woody. Now flip it over. There we go. That's pretty nice, right? I'll put this in a jar so that the paint doesn't dry on it. And I'm going to put out just a smidge. This just makes it easy for me. You could also thin your heavy body black paint and it will work really well. Now I'm going to dry this so I can put my special tool over it. And then there won't get a bunch of paint on it, which is just a T-square, which is also in the description below. Now, you could use other ways to create a level line. This is just my easy one.
So again, make sure low heat settings and completely dry your surface between layers. So that way, when you're using things like T-squares, you don't get them to stick to the surface. And that can stick because it's the surface is still wet from not drying it thoroughly, or it can be sticky because you don't use heat, and that heat causes it to stick. So, those are the basic public heat and paint service message that you get from me on a regular air moving break, because that's what I do.
What do you do?
I talk about drying paint and heat.
Yes, you do. So this is a T-square. Now that you've informed everybody about color shift. The most informed art issue in the world now, thanks to us. Everybody's like going to be like, does your acrylic paint color shift? Acrylic paint manufacturers will be like, oh, drats.
You know,
because it does. I'm going to grab a little colored chalk here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to make a mark at the 3-inch mark and the 6-inch mark. Since this is 9 across, I'm just dividing it evenly. And I will go ahead and take my T-square. And I will use this actually to help me create the straight line. You guys ready?
Okay.
So I'm going to dip my number 4 in some water, drag off the extra because I don't want a lot in it. And I don't want a drop coming from up here and coming down and making a fun little moment in my canvas. And I'm just going to use this to create the wood board.
There's a couple of good questions that have come out here.
I love it. We're doing wood board. I can answer them.
So,
you guys get what's happening here.
Can you mix acrylic paint brands?
Yes.
And
cheap ones, expensive ones, all kinds of acrylic brand. If they're acrylic and they're paint, they should be able to mix together. It only gets to be weird, like if they have another weird something in them, like they're oil-based or some other weird deal.
And you keep saying...
That's rare. You guys won't just run into oil-based acrylic. The original acrylic was actually weird.
So,
long story short, never mind. I just deviated into art nerdness. These are not problems you will have at the Michaels. You'll just run into regular acrylic paint, which all mixes together quite well.
It's fine. So, now you almost won't forget. You keep saying something about thinning heavy body acrylic paint.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by thinning it?
So I can take my water, right, my brush here, and I can bring a little water down to it, and I can swirl that water into the paint, and you can see it creates a consistency that's a little closer to that.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Now, again, remember when you do deep wash that the water's on the brush, and it's all going to run down here and hide as a little drop that wants to come and mess up your painting. Watch for that. That's why I'm always wiping it off. There's a reason why. I'm not like particularly neat or tidy. That's not what's happened here. Just don't want that surprise drop to come mess up my day. Now, our little fellow here, right? He's got a couple little measurements we can pay attention to. About 1.5 inches from the top will be when his little hat makes a turn. And he's kind of mostly centered here. And then his little footums, see where his little footums are. They are about 1.5. We want to kind of make that bit of the ground. So I'll flip that over for the ground. So 1.5, 1.5. We just want to make sure that we've got some room for the top and the bottom of the gnome. when you draw them in. You don't draw, you say. Someone somewhere on the internet is saying right now to me, but I don't draw. I don't want to draw. I just want to paint. Good news, you don't have to draw and paint to paint. If you follow the link in the description to the website, there's a traceable, there's a video on how to use it. It's not cheating. It's not cheating at all. No worries. I want to also see how long I made this hat, just out of curiosity. So we're as close as possible in the recreation. So the hat is really just shy of 6 inches down is when his little bridge of nose begins. So I'll just make that little demarcation just a bit under 6 inches down. So, I like to keep track of those thingies.
Yep.
Now, at that mark, just under 6 inches down, I'm going to come here and kind of arc over. It's like a frown, isn't it? It goes a little bit over each side, perhaps, of the board. And I'll erase a bit because I got a little excited about how much hat is going on here. And under the hat, right, we're going to have a circle, little oval. That's his nose. No, it is, you say. Yes, it is. And up, up, up goes the hat. And up, up, up comes the hat. And it narrows, and it's going to kind of come in a point and travel over here so it has room for a heart. See how we're doing? If you're just trying to draw it, that's how we're getting him in. I'm going to show you so that you can do stuff beyond the traceable when you're working if you want to make more gnomes.
Beyond the traceable.
Beyond the traceable. I'm going to come over here about a 1/2 inch up, and I'm going to make a little bit of snow land. This is my snow. And under him, kind of right here at this line, is a little round foot. And kind of equally spaced right here is another little round foot. Cute, aren't they?
Foots.
The great news is once you have the feet in, we're going to bring a beard over. That's a little sweeping line. And this might even go out a little bit deeper. A little bit, right? Because we got a little sweeping line. And what's interesting is that I'm going to be pulling little beard lines down. This one's going to swing up. And these just start to make little lines that will blend into each other. And once that's all in, I can kind of do it in paint. I also like to have, maybe a couple of hearts. So there could be a heart here, and then a heart here. And then I'm going to come from this upper right, and I'm going to go down and over. And I'll make at least one branch up. If I need a third one to go down, it'll come down like that. All right, so that lets me know where that heart is. And I know I'm going to want this heart here. And the reason I do lines, I'll show you when I do it in the black paint. Because I got some black paint. I'm going to use it to paint it all in just real quick. So yeah, you can use your black, because I'm going to be using an outline of him to sort of create a sketch in. That makes it very easy to see where he is. I just like to go in chalk first, because if I go in chalk first, if I make an error or I just do something, because there's not really errors in art, but if I just do something I don't like, chalk is very easy to erase with just a damp brush and water. Paint a little bit more challenging, so I like to make sure that I got that. I'm also going to give him a little nose. Come here, little nose. Your little round nose is right there. And then your little round feet are right here. Look at their little ovals. How cute are those? Little ovals. I know I'm super excited about an oval. I hear it.
Now, when is it the right time to start talking about matte versus satin versus gloss?
The time when you're really familiar with all those issues. So, acrylic paint comes in different finishes. You can get entire lines that specialize in the finish, like it'll say super matte or semi or glossy. For most parts, each pigment kind of gives a different finish, and then you unify the finish with varnish at the end.
But that's only if you want that effect.
That's if you are very concerned about that effect, yes. And you may not be, and it's okay. If you are not, no one is going to come up and be like, judge you.
So that's probably one of those things when you're considering the final viewer's experience. Is it important to have a matte, semi-gloss, or gloss effect to convey your concept? Or
well, that's usually about the preference of viewing the art. Is the artwork, if the artwork's super shiny, right, then it's going to be kind of an issue if you have a lot of bright lighting in your home. The artwork may not view easily because they'll have glare and reflection.
Ooh, sheen.
Yeah, right. But gloss deepens the color.
It's true.
So many choices.
So many choices. But that's what you get to do as an artist.
Right.
Make
exactly.
choices.
You got to make some choices. Oh, and I got distracted talking to John and made some weird choices myself, but that's okay.
What'd you do?
I'll get it out.
I don't know what you did.
That's okay.
Oh,
I'm going to draw
sorry
this
if
here.
sorry if I distracted.
It's just, no, it's okay. That happens. Sometimes you get to talking to your friends when you're painting at the table, right? And you're like, wait, what was I doing? And then you'll be like, oh, yeah. But there we go. We got it back, so we're okay.
We pile low beard.
We're going to come here, and I'm going to give myself an easy time for later.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring my T-square now. Now, if I do it, it's so much easier than later. And I'm going to make a line down from my branch. And I'm going to make a longer line down from my branch.
Are these the ornament hanging lines?
They are.
These are
And
the
I'm
hearts.
going to go ahead and make a line to my hat. And that's going to really help me make my hearts. There's a really cool way to make hearts with my pouncers that I'll have to demo in a future thing. But this is just a good way to get her done. I wipe my little T-square off so the paint doesn't stay on it.
Cleaned it up.
So it doesn't stay on it. I'm going to get this here, and I'm going to make a little cross line right there and a little cross line right there, and those will be my hearts. And I just come up and meet it and come up and meet it. See how I do?
Mm-hmm.
By using that center line, it helps you to create an even, not too asymmetrical heart is all.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
But to be honest, this is such a quaint little fellow that you don't have to have that symmetrical of a heart.
They can be artsy hearts.
They can be very artsy hearts. All right. There we go. We got that in. And say a little bit of the branch. Branches are fun. Let's bring a little branch down here. And a little branch bow over here. And you can see, like, that was like a messy line for me. Why am I not worried? Because I got to do a whole bunch of fluffy stuff. And since I've got to do a whole bunch of fluffy stuff, I don't got to worry about that. Now I'm going to come here to the edge, and I'm still on my number 4 round. And I'm going to just flick out my little pine bough. That I do, these are like little fluffy lines that fan out from the branch. This is a good time to answer questions because it's just fanning stuff out. I'm not trying to figure out where a beard blows.
We'll go over and read some of these because I was distracted chatting with you too.
I know, man. It's fun to talk to you.
Now there is a tracing.
Other people come to the shows,
right?
though, so we got to talk to them too.
There is a tracing for this.
There absolutely is a traceable.
Those are up on our website. So
those are up on our website.
You can find a link in the description down below to find that, and it should bring you to the page, and you can click there for the reference image and
you know what, guys, like, we have these, they'll say moderator butterfly, butterfly cat red, and they have little wrenches. They will have links to all of that. So if there's something we've answered in the show before you got here, always look to them anytime you show up, because they may have already put a file together of the links of where all that stuff is.
They were just dropping them.
Were they just dropping them?
They were.
Yeah. They'll make sure you get the basic stuff, like where the color list is. So even if you ever come to a show late and you miss something we covered, those mods, they are your resource.
Mm-hmm.
They will help you out. All right. Getting this little fluffy branch. Notice I'm on the toe of my brush.
What is the toe of your brush?
So in a brush, you have the handle, the ferrule, the crimp of the ferrule, the heel, the belly, and the toe.
Oh, well, that helps.
It does, doesn't it?
I'm on my brush toes.
You're on your brush toes like a little brushy ballerina. Who's got a brushy ballerina? By the way, this is not the last of the gnomes. I'm going to gnome it up more.
I have a feeling that me and this gnome have ballerina toes like pouncers.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's I can tippy toe like a pouncer.
Just making our weird little tree. Just a weird little pine tree, right? I love doing black and white and red paintings. Just really black and white and a pop of color are a lot of fun because you think a bit more about the design in those issues than you might in other areas.
Before you move on, could you do me a favor? Could you flip the surface over and show how you do that flick brush stroke so you get such a nice taper thin line that kind of goes flick,
Happy
flick,
to.
flick, flick? Because Rain was just asking about that.
Hi, Rain. How you doing?
So
okay, so some of this is that the brush I have has a firm filament that's resilient that's going to hold its shape between painting sessions. And you'll notice that it's shaped to a very fine point. I really wash it out every session and then finger shape it to allow it to dry so it holds this shape. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to dip in my paint, right? And you can see it's just on the toe of my brush. And then I'm going to flick. So everything that the strongest part, I'll exaggerate it. The strongest part of my press is when I start and then I lighten it as I finish, creating that little tapered end. You press hard and then finish.
Perfect. And it's kind of about finding that arc where you're getting that.
Yeah, and how you work on this is like every once in a while, if you're having trouble, like say you are painting and everything is kind of like this, guys. See how my brush is?
Yeah.
New painters put too much kinetic energy through their whole body into the brush. They just haven't learned how to feel where those things are. So every once in a while, just take whatever brush you have, cheap brush, expensive brush, doesn't really matter, guys, and just practice doing this right here.
I think that needs a t-shirt. Don't put too much kinetic energy in your brush.
Just don't do it. But see how I'm doing here? And then I can be like, oh, if I go harder, what happens? And then I can go lighter and see how long you can paint and what you can do. And that little exercise right here will help you lighten up. You can do that on practice paper. It doesn't have to be on a canvas. It can be on any, like Bristol, it just be on any cheap surface that'll take the paint. Your goal is just to see, can you feel and create thin lines with whatever brush you have? What are the thickest lines? What are the thinnest lines? And that exercise will help you determine in your kit what brushes you want to pick up for technique. You'll stop relying on us, the instructors, because you're going to know your set of tools better than I could ever know them. And you'll be like, yeah, she's got that, but I have this brush and this is my good edge. Good thing to know, right?
The best brush is the brush you use.
Best brush is the brush you use. Now, to start Mr. Gnome, right, I'm going to have to paint in my dark red first. Now, I could add my blue to my red, or, and this time I'll demo it, right, I can add a little black. What we're doing is we're darkening the red. See how it becomes kind of like a brick color? For the purposes of a cad red, it's not that different between the black or the phthalo blue to get you that red deep brick.
Gotcha.
Paint in the hat, your red deep brick. This is a number 8 cat's tongue, and it's just a nice brush to paint in areas where I want to be able to do a lot of compound curves and stuff. Lots of brushes will do it, though. What you're looking for is a brush that will let you run along a line edge, like right here, so I can run along the edge.
Yeah.
Now, I will re-outline everything after I'm all done painting, just to give it a more finished look. So don't be too panicked about your outline.
Gotcha.
It's the start of something, but it's not the finish. Oh, look at this, guys. John loves this painting.
I really do.
He's a gnome fan.
I love all the little gnomes. And it's really funny, as I was just looking over here,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got a lot of Australian gnomes joining us.
Hello, all my Australian gnomes. I am wishing you guys are safe
And
love to your first responders and everybody out there. And I just really want, I don't know, rain. I don't know what the solution is. Whatever it is, I hope it happens, like a lot of it everywhere.
look, I got an Australian gnome reference image.
You do?
Yeah. He's upside down.
Don't get me in a bunch of internet trouble. Don't do it. I'm coming here and I'm just painting in all the areas that will be bright red with this dark red. Why, you say? Well, the reason why is that we want to create sort of this dimensionality to the painting. Whether you're painting this on a wood sign or you're painting this with me here now on a canvas, dimensionality with acrylic paint is one of its greatest features. So always take advantage of that. And this will give your work a depth and finish that you will really enjoy on the wall. A lot of times what happens to new painters is they don't know how many layers they're going to be getting into, and so they just stop too soon. And the painting was super fine. They just needed another layer or two. So don't give up. Painting all that in.
Your gnome believes in you.
Your gnome does believe in you. You got to believe back in the gnome, though. Believe in your gnome. He believes in you.
Mm-hmm.
I have more gnome designs coming, so if you've been having fun with this, just get ready. More is on the way.
Gnomes are a lot like fairies, but instead of clapping, you have to give them layers.
Layers? Give your gnome layers. Speaking of them layers, let's put in a little bit of blue. And how we're going to do that, I'm going to flip him over just to make this a little easier for me, if I can. So we're going to come here and we're going to underneath the shoes. This is going to be our first layer for the snow. Isn't that nice? Little first layer.
Under snow.
The under snow.
It's
because winter has come and now we're on our way to Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's best not to use yellow ochre as your under snow.
No, you're gonna get a lot of jokes and teasing from your support system around you.
It will.
Yeah.
It's true.
There's no way our partners are gonna let yellow snow go by. Let's just be honest.
That's true.
They're gonna have to say something about that because that's their job, right? To heckle us.
That is true. I'm always surprised when you use yellow ochre in the snow.
Yes. He has so much to say about it. So I'm taking a little bit, as you can see, of my white and a little bit of my quinacridone. Notice that I come from the outside of the paint. I don't go into the middle and scoop it. Sometimes you see examples of that out there in instruction, but what that does is that wastes your paint really badly. So if you're trying to save a little money and you're wanting to make sure your supplies go as far, wash your brushes after every painting session and work from the outside of your paint pot. These are simple things you can do to just save yourself a ton of money. I'm doing this because his nose is this pink.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really do the cad red as the nose because it comes out this weird peachy color and it just doesn't feel as cute or adorable.
Ah.
Just true
Good
facts.
to know.
True facts. Now, I'm getting some clean water on my brush. I'm going to come here and just clean up the chalk that I don't need.
Oh, that's cool. Just erase it.
Yeah. Just wherever I have it that I don't want it, you know, and the paint's dry, I can come in and start to clean it up. See how I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
So you can just come in and hit that real fast if you want to. All that there and that there.
Mary was commenting
Hi, Mary.
Now, is it the owl cat is the mount of gnomes? That's their native, that's what they ride?
Well, gnomes are known for riding snails, though there is a warrior branch of, and a festival branch of gnome that does ride owl cat.
Oh,
But
okay.
they're
That's
more
good.
like they're either like, SCA gonna go to Onsty or a Battle kind of gnome, or they're Coachella gnome. So it's really just about glitter or
Hard
no
to
glitter.
know. I see.
Okay, thought about a lot.
I gotcha.
I'm gonna come along here and I'm gonna just come between my 2 feet very carefully, as you can see, and add a little bit of a shadow. Isn't that nice?
Mm.
Just to make sure that underneath the feet is a little bit of a shadow. I'll come under here, just making sure I've got a bit of shadow. Now, the beard. First, let's go under the hat. Similar deal, shadow. And we're going to begin to put this dark value here. And it's a lot of dark. It'll be real shocking at first.
The bearded gnome.
The bearded gnome. That's a nice way to get it in.
That's like an English tavern.
And then I like to blend it down and sort of flow it in an S curve. See how my brush strokes are kind of an S curve? This is going to help me get that definition where the hair is going to go. That I'm going to be painting over and into. Sometimes when you're trying to make something white, you've almost got to make it gray, or as John has pointed out, yellow ochre.
Mm.
Now I'm going to rinse out. Everything is pretty good at this stage.
It is pretty good.
I'm going to get some white and a little bit of my black because we're going to build up our beard. And while this is all still wet, let's come here and start to S-curve out. And I may need some more white paint out here. So you don't want it to be bright white as of yet. Not yet, guys. Not yet.
Not yet.
Resist the urge. I'm going to come through here and I'm just trying to, I let a little bit of the black paint pick up into it. That's okay. And I'm flowing. This is how we're going to get that feel of that flowing beard. A little feel of that flowing beard. Maybe a little bit of a tuck in there. And I will move my canvas as I need to get a good angle.
I like. Now, this. So, there's a couple, oh man, my brain's full. I love how the brushstroke you're doing creates this very complex look. Can you explain that?
So, in art, what we have is we have value, how light or dark something is, right? We have hue. That's the color that we're looking at. That's a red, that's a pink, that's a blue, right? Those are the colors, those are the hues, right? On top of that, we have texture, which is the way we accomplish the wood, and implied line, which is how we're doing the beard. The directionality and the shape of the brush stroke starts to begin to create an illusion of this wonderful, fun little beard that he is sporting. And I may switch to my number 4 round here real soon to give me a break on the beard, but this is a good start to it. Because now we can kind of see how it's flowing off to the side. It's gray right now, but with a little bit of color, we'll be fine. Little bit of color will be fine. Now for the next part, I do want the red to be dry. You have to excuse me, my neck gets sweaty, then my thing pulls on me. And I'm like,
All right. So, someone was just asking a really good question. Tracy, I will ask about the lady gnomes after this. I think that she has some plan. Actually, I've seen some lady gnomes that she's done. So I don't know what her plan is to release those, but I will ask after this. I'm going to say thank you, Patty, for the shifty paint talk support earlier. And thank you to all of our patrons who help support us and help make sure that we can stay on here and, do crazy things like teach people how to paint for free online. So I just wanted to say thank you. And I love all our patrons who enable us to do things like teach people how to paint for free online.
Thank you so much.
Because it's fun.
It's fun. Painting is fun. Let's be honest. We all like it. So to get this look on the hat, I'm going to just get into my pure cad red right now. And I'm going to do something called painterly brushstrokes, which means I'm not going to hide or blend out or smooth out the brushstroke. And I'm going to allow some of what's underneath to show through. My application is somewhat thick. All right, I'm going to paint through here. And notice that you can really see the brushstroke.
Yeah.
So that gives that kind of a rustic look. Highly desirable in this type of painting. It really is. Mm. And this is a kind of looser way of painting, and that can be a little more challenging sometimes because when we're new, we want to hide that we painted it almost. We want to create an illusion of reality, so we hide all of our brush strokes. But actually, a lot of times as an artist, you want to show them off. Let everyone see the hard work that you did to create your beautiful piece. Look at that. There we go there. Mm-hmm. I have another white and black and red heart painting that uses the bokeh pouncers and some similar techniques that would match this really well. I don't know if any of my fast moderators can throw a link up in the description, but you guys might really enjoy it. I've also put together a playlist of romantic paintings and Valentine's paintings that you can find here on the channel. And so if you're looking for stuff to match this, things that will go with it, things that will be fun, that's a good resource to look for.
There was a lot of requests for lady gnomes.
Oh, yes. Well, we got to have lady gnome. Well, I mean, so little is known about the gnome population. I don't really want to assign any identity. I haven't really taken a poll.
We don't know if this is
could be like dwarves.
Beard or hair.
Could be like dwarves.
Right. We don't know if this is facial hair or just a coif that's neatly combed in front of her face.
We don't really know. All we know is adorableness is a foot.
That's right.
That's all we got going on. So I'm going to leave a little bit of the dark value at the bottom because I'm trying to kind of shade these little feet. So I'm pulling this down here and I'm just on the toe and I'm just letting it be a little bit darker at the bottom. Now, I'm going to show you a way to kind of make sure that's true, which is if I take a little of my blue. Remember how I said the blue and the black work very similar in the cad red? I'm going to come in. Look, I'm taking that shadow color right underneath. It helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Creating kind of a little bit of a shadow value underneath there. Now, rinse this out. While you're at this, rinse this out, and you're going to come and get just a little bit of your quinacridone magenta and a smidge of white. Not too much white, because you really want it to be pure, and you're going to do a similar thing on the nose. Bottom half of the nose, like we're curling that around. That's going to help us go. If you get too much of the pink in there, you just come right back and fix it. But to get that nice little, really rounded, shiny nose, you got to get that basic shape in. Rinsing out. The next cool thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my white and some of my blue. Not all, you don't want it to look white. You still want it to look like snowy blue. Come underneath here. And I'm going to very loosely dry brush over this. Look how we're doing.
Yeah.
A little bit, that next layer. I follow the line of the hill and kind of try to create some different shapes, but I'm not finishing it out too much. And you can always make sure that you've got a little deeper blue under the feet and under the gnome. That's like a shadow. See how we do there?
Yeah.
I picked up a little extra blue paint and I brushed it under. He's looking okay. He's doing all right. He could be good. Next trick. I'm going to get my white paint, get really into my white at this stage. And I'm going to come around this part of the beard, and at this bottom apex, I'm going to bring that up and down. Because I kind of want that to be a separate bit of hair. I lost it a little bit in my initial chatty, but I see it now and I want to put it back. And that'll happen. You know, doesn't really matter. You just go along and you're like, it's all art.
It is.
And then come here and using my number 4 round, you can see I am adding to that sense of directionality, aren't I? Curve these brush strokes to imply the fold and blend of the hair. Curve them, curve them, curve them. I like to bring them to the end, and you can even kind of go, woo! Little curly tails. Little twirls. Be twirly. Twirl what? Twirl that.
A lot of people looking forward to painting this. And there's a lot of folks painting along with us.
I would think so. Gnomes are so much fun right now to paint. We have so many people even just doing them randomly in group when we have our Fine Art Fridays. I'd say that's a thing everyone's been real excited to do, their different versions of their gnomes. I think it's a very beginner-friendly subject.
It is.
So it leaves a lot of room for people to find their creativity. Find their space.
That gray really gives that dimension.
Yeah, it does. And, you know, you may need to do like a couple coats of your white to get the full pop of white. I'm sure I will need to. I'm just doing a couple little curls there. But while I've got that sort of drying, I can do a little thing. I'm going to take just my white. I'm going to come here to my heart. And I'm going to make a little reflection. Touch there. Let's put one on our nose right here. That's cute. He's got a little reflection on his nose now. Makes his nose seem like a little more roundy and a little more cutie, right? I'll put one right here. See, I'm just touching 2 little highlights. And I can even come down to the little feet. And that kind of lets everything have a minute to sort of think itself out and dry. I'm going to rinse out very thoroughly because I'm going to get back into my black paint and on the tip of my little brush here. And I'm going to come around. Notice that I'm on the toe of my brush, and I'll make these little shading lines.
Oh, yeah. Reinforce the shadow.
Reinforce it, but very lightly because you still want it to feel like a light beard. And then go around my nose. Make sure that that has got a nice little outline. There it is. That's cute, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just letting all this white dry while I'm doing this. And I'll come under my nose, and I need to make a little shadow, but I want to do it on my toes. So you don't want to go like this. You don't want to go like that. That's not going to feel great. Where I'm making even lines, you're going to want to come on the toe. And definitely imply you want some longer, some shorter.
Got to flick away from the nose. If you hang on.
Flick it away from the nose.
If you hang on to the nose, you get some weird looking kind of
boogies.
Yeah. Got to flick them away.
Back under the hat. So that's good. You can see that gives us a little bit of a feeling of hair. Just a little bit. I'm going to come here and just make sure that this is. There, you'll hear me rinse out, and I'm trying to make sure that my stuff doesn't get glommed up on my brush. Glommed is like where it starts to crawl up your brush and get all goopy around the ferrule. It's like a whole thing that happens. I'm going to come around this outside edge on the toe of the brush and accentuate that swirl. Like that. And how I generally find these beards, whether it be this gnome or be another gnome, is that I kind of notice these paths within the paint strokes. And I follow them, and when I see them, I exaggerate them. By encouraging these lines. See how we're doing? We're exaggerating the truth.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. And you don't have to be like a longtime painter to partake in these little elements of design. So on my toe.
Wow, this came together really fast.
Yeah, it's just a fun, happy little fast painting. All right. One last bit, which is, well, two last bits. We're going to outline everything. And then one last little highlight. Now, on the heart, make sure you have a nice load of black paint. And I like to give myself some good clean lines.
I guess that nice kind of contrasty, cartoony look to it.
I very much like it. I think it's lovely. I think it's graphical. Sometimes on occasion, you know, you get students who are very much like, I need it to be realism, but they're generally not my gnome painters.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about it as much. That's more like when we're landscape painting, right? You know, something like that.
There's a time
and a place for everything. So you can see that those lines strengthen the graphical nature of the character and pull it out. This is actually why there's a whole job in comic work that is about inking. It is this type of strong line work that makes our favorite comics so compelling to look at. It's not just the color or the drawing, it is a whole series of artistic decisions. And I just like to, again, I don't move myself, I move the canvas because that's what
makes you comfortable.
Yeah, you don't want to injure yourself to do a painting. Super rinse, super rinse. I feel like I want one more coat of white out there. So here we go, loading it on pretty thick onto my brush. And you can see it's that final one. Couple strokes there. I'm not like trying to just fill it in like a coloring book exactly. Think of it more like zones.
Zones of the beard.
Zones of the beard, and I'm strengthening the flow of the beard, the wind of the beard.
Beard flow. Something that's not contemplated nearly enough.
Whoa, we're going to be doing it a lot. I've got so many designs of these guys. There we go. Just improving that. Now you can really see his beard happening. The last thing that I can do is I can give him a little bit of snow. So I've got my sponge right here. And I'll go ahead and get a bunch of my white paint on it. I might come here and just like tap a little snow. was a fun way to do a snow texture, you know? Sometimes it's easier to put it here.
There we go. Now I can see it.
We'll tap up and down. Got some snow. Who's got snow? I got snow. So texture, implied line, hue, all these things coming together to make a really fun little painting that we can enjoy. And then when all of that is done,
I had noticed that there's a little highlight on the little strings. Was that?
all right, so let's put that in.
Sorry, I just was.
It was because when I was originally doing it, I didn't know if I wanted white strings or black strings, but
Oh.
okay.
So, just curious as to why that was.
Yeah. Just sometimes when I'm designing, I'll be like, is it going to be white string? And then I'm like, I don't really like it.
So you could highlight that as if you wanted, but not necessarily.
But that's how I would do it. I would take my T-square and come back over and just hit those real quick if you wanted those highlights.
Gotcha.
What that was is I originally had them in as white strings, and then...
Oh, they make a nice little contrast against the wood slats, too.
So that gives you a little thing.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Oh,
all right.
nice.
I'll just sign in white on this one then, since I've already got it loaded. And I'll sign it over here, and then we'll have an easy time telling which one is mine, the study, and which one is the show.
That's awesome.
There you guys go. And I think that's everything. The thing I would say on this, guys, where I suspect people are going to have a little bit of thing, and I'll do it in black so you can really see it, is on the beard, making that last little curve. Make sure that you practice getting those little circles. Otherwise, you can get that. If you don't get it curved right, it goes like that. So you're going to want to practice working your toes so you get that nice little finish.
That's amazing.
Little thing that you might want to know before we go on. All right. Gnome.
Oh,
so not the last gnome by any means.
No.
Many more gnomes to come. Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you in an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.